Good afternoon. I'm Israeli government spokesman Avi Hyman. This is day 117 of the October 7th war. Beginning today with an operational update. 3 more names were added to the list of fallen soldiers, bringing the total number since October 7th to 560. Captain Reserves Gabriel Shani, 28, a student from Eli, who left behind a wife and 2 small children. Warrant Officer Reserves Yuval Nir, 43, from Kibbutz Kfar Etzion, who left behind a wife and 5 children. Major Reserves Netzer Simchi, 30, from Masad, a newlywed, who cut his honeymoon short to report for duty. These 3 men were not career soldiers, but reservists. They put aside everything to run to the front and defend our nation. Reservists are the backbone of the Israel Defense Forces, and we salute each and every one of them. In addition, the Israel police confirmed the death of Major Ran Gvili, who was killed on October 7th while fighting invading Hamas terrorists in Kibbutz Alumim. His body has been held in Hamas terror dungeons since. Major Gvili's death brings the total number of Israeli police killed since October 7th to 61. Gabriel, Yuval, Netzer, and Ran, the people of Israel thank you for your service and heroism. We will never forget you. We extend our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the fallen who are grieving today. The following 18 entities have announced a suspension of their funding to UNRWA: the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, the European Union, Sweden, Japan, France, Switzerland, Canada, the Netherlands, Australia, Italy, Austria, Finland, New Zealand, Iceland, Romania, and Estonia. UNRWA is unraveling in real time as the world wakes up to the way in which a United Nations aid organization has been hijacked by Hamas and tainted by terror. I want to focus on education. Some 300,000 Gazan children attend UNRWA-run schools. In addition to the UNRWA employees who took an active role in the October 7th massacre and held hostages in their homes, many of the terrorists who committed atrocities on October 7th are UNRWA alumni, as are many of those currently battling IDF soldiers. Nobody who has followed what is being taught in UNRWA facilities was surprised to discover that so many of its employees openly supported or actively participated in the October 7th massacre. Hatred of Jews in Israel is fed to the children of Gaza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. While many of us cherish reading bedtime stories to our children, classics like The 3 Bears or The Very Hungry Caterpillar, in Gaza, kids are treated to stories about martyrs to the cause of jihad, tales of Palestinian terrorists slaughtered innocent Jews. Indeed, stories like these, recently uncovered in Gaza and stamped with the approval of the Palestinian Ministry of Education. Each book is devoted to a different terrorist, recounting how young Palestinians rose to glory by perpetrating brutal, senseless attacks of murder. This is why de-radicalization is a central tenet of Prime Minister Netanyahu's 3D vision for Gaza the day after Hamas. Destroying Hamas, demilitarizing Gaza, and de-radicalizing Palestinian society. The 3rd D will require a total revamping of the education system. An education system that for decades has cultivated the fantasy that one day Gazans will push the Jews into the sea and overrun Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Akko. This fantasy is what UNRWA teaches in its schools, and it harbors by its very existence as a refugee agency for one and only one group of refugees. The only group of refugees who, after 5 generations living in the same place, are still considered refugees, the Palestinians. Turning to events in Judea and Samaria, yesterday in a joint operation between the IDF and Shin Bet, the Israel police, 3 Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists were neutralized in Jenin. In blatant contravention of international law, these terrorists were hiding in the Ibn Sina hospital. Mohammed Jamaleh was one of those, neutralized. He had been involved in promoting significant terrorist activity. Jalamane had contacts with Hamas headquarters abroad and was involved in promoting and plotting a car bombing attack. In addition, he transferred weapons and ammunition to terrorists in order to facilitate shooting attacks and planned a raid inspired by the October 7th massacre. This is another example of the cynical use of civilian areas and hospitals as shelters and human shields by terrorist organizations. Now for an update from the south. The IDF's systematic dismantling of Hamas continues. Today, the IDF announced that in Khan Yunis, forces located explosive devices, conducted a targeted raid on a weapons production facility, and eliminated dozens of terrorists. Turning to Israel's northern border, a number of launches from Syria toward the southern Golan Heights were identified last night. In response, Israeli Air Force fighter jets struck military infrastructure belonging to the Syrian regime. In addition, IDF artillery fired towards several locations in southern Lebanon in response to launches toward Israel this morning. Turning to the ongoing daily delivery of humanitarian aid into Israel, Koga announced that yesterday a total of 197 trucks entered, 151 of them carrying a total of 2,935 tons of food. Other goods delivered included 210 tons of shelter equipment, 20 tons of water, 10 tons of medical supplies, 2 tanks of fuel, 4 tanks of cooking gas, and 450 tons of mixed goods. 2 medical teams also entered Gaza yesterday to support the medical response in the area. 12 bakeries continued to produce 2 million pita breads. The establishment of more bakeries is in the planning process. That's all for my updates for today. I will now open to your questions.
Question from Jim Williams of Zenga International. Is there any concern about the war expanding based on the US saying there will be retaliation strikes on Iranian proxies for the killing of US soldiers in the region?
I will refer that question to the Americans. You're asking me about an American statement about the Americans potentially attacking targets after American servicemen were killed by an Iranian proxy. That's a question for the Pentagon, for the White House. If there's no more questions, that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you very much.